Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an industry we literally drive past every single day, but probably don't give a second thought to. Well, until we desperately need it. We're going to decode the hidden layers of the towing ecosystem, everything from intense digital marketing battlegrounds to heavy mechanical tech and the incredibly strict legal framework governing the side of the road. So, when your car stops, who actually decides who picks it up? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is honestly a lot more complex than you might think. Because let's face it, most of us only ever deal with the towing industry when our vehicle breaks down or we've been in a crash. In those moments, you're distressed, you're vulnerable, and frankly, you're probably pretty uninformed about how the system actually works. So today, we're going to flip that script and empower you with the facts. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the digital towing battleground, look at the tilt tray advantage, explore taming the towing industry, break down the actual cost of a crash, and finally, arm you with knowing your consumer rights. Let's get right into it. Part 1. The digital towing battleground, and how algorithms actually win the race. In the completely deregulated world of what's called trade towing, so think your everyday mechanical breakdowns, jump starts, or flat tires, digital visibility is basically survival. Get this, research shows that a towing company sitting in the top 3 Google results with a 4.5-star rating or higher gets 93% more calls during roadside emergencies. 93%. I mean, think about it. If you're stuck on the shoulder of the highway at midnight, you're definitely not window shopping. You're frantically typing "towing near me" into your phone, and right then and there, an algorithm is deciding who gets that lucrative call. But how exactly do these companies game the system to capture those frantic searches before the competition even shows up? Well, it's pretty much an exact science. They heavily optimize their Google business profiles using some very specific local SEO tactics. The algorithm is constantly calculating proximity to the searcher, the sheer volume and star rating of reviews, and something called review velocity, which is basically how fast new reviews are rolling in. Google even measures how quickly a dispatcher replies to incoming messages. So the truck that actually picks you up, they weren't necessarily the closest, they were just the most digitally optimized. Moving on to part 2, the tilt tray advantage, and the tech moving modern vehicles. Okay, stepping away from the digital battlefield for a second and looking at the physical roadside. The actual technology moving your car has evolved incredibly fast. We've all seen traditional tow trucks, right? The ones that just lift 2 wheels and drag the back ones. Well, that older method risks serious underbody damage on low-clearance cars and causes a lot of wear and tear on suspension components. Enter the modern solution, the tilt tray. This piece of tech drops a massive flat ramp, winches your whole vehicle up, and takes all 4 wheels completely off the pavement for maximum stability, pretty much eliminating any mechanical strain while you're in transit. Now, you might be wondering, who actually needs this modern tech? Increasingly, the answer is all of us. Tilt trays are an absolute must for low-profile sports cars, heavy machinery, and decked-out 4x4 WDs. But the real game-changer here is electric vehicles. If you're driving a modern EV, say a Tesla, a BYD, or a Polestar, you absolutely require a tilt tray, period. See, if you tow an EV with its wheels still rolling on the ground, you run a huge risk of engaging its regenerative braking system. Doing that can severely damage that heavy, expensive battery pack or the electric motor itself. And worse, it'll often completely void your manufacturer's warranty. Yeah, definitely not something you want to mess with. All right, part 3. Taming the towing industry, from the Wild West to strict regulation. We're pivoting now from the free market breakdown sector over to the heavily, and I mean heavily regulated world of accident towing. When there's a crash, a totally different set of rules kicks in. And to understand exactly why these strict rules exist today, we just need to hear a pretty stark finding from the Western Australian Government Consumer Protection Report. They explicitly noted a history of, quote, physical altercations and possible links to criminal activity and organized crime, end quote. Historically, this space was notorious for serious predatory behavior. Drivers would literally get into fights over who got to claim a lucrative crash scene. So, to clean up that absolute mess, the state of Victoria stepped in and enacted the Accident Towing Services Act of 2007. This piece of legislation was a massive deal. It completely transformed the industry from the Wild West into a highly controlled, professional environment. It put mandatory character accreditations and strict probity checks in place for all drivers. It also established what are called controlled areas, like the busy streets of Melbourne, where tow trucks are systematically dispatched using an orderly roster system. The days of just racing your truck to an accident scene,
Gone. Now you literally have to sit and wait for the allocation body to call your number.
Part 4. The cost of a crash. Breaking down those regulated fees. Because the government now keeps such a tight grip on who exactly gets to pick up your car after a crash, they also strictly cap how much you can actually be charged for it. Let's run through the hard data for metropolitan Melbourne, straight from the Essential Services Commission. The base fee, which covers your first 8 kilometers of travel, is capped at exactly $272.80. After that, every additional kilometer is $4.30. Need undercover storage? That's $30.90 per day. Oh, and if your crash happens late at night or after hours, expect a $93.10 surcharge. Unlike a standard roadside breakdown where an operator can legally quote you pretty much whatever they want, these accident fees are totally public, locked in, and completely non-negotiable. Which brings us to Part 5, knowing your consumer rights, basically your roadside survival guide. Listen, if you only take one thing away from this explainer today, please let it be this action plan. It's drawn directly from Consumer Affairs Victoria, and it is crucial. If you're ever in an accident, step 1, read the towing contract incredibly carefully before you sign anything. Step 2, demand that your car is towed directly to your home or to your own preferred repairer. If a tow truck takes your vehicle back to their private holding yard, those daily storage fees we just talked about, they start racking up immediately. Towing it to your house completely stops the clock, and it buys you precious time to actually check your insurance. And step 3, do not under any circumstances authorize any vehicle repairs right there at the crash scene. The real crucial point here is that the law actually recognizes that crash victims are, understandably, in a state of shock. So if a tow driver does manage to pressure you into signing a repair agreement while you're still standing dazed on the side of the highway, you are legally protected. You have a mandatory 3-day cooling-off period to completely cancel any repair agreements you signed post-accident, and you can do it without a single penalty. It is an absolutely vital legal safety net that everyone should know about. Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground today. We've seen how local SEO algorithms essentially dictate who races to your breakdown first. We've unpacked why heavy tilt tray technology is an absolute must to protect today's modern vehicles. And we've dug into the strict state laws and mandatory price caps that are built specifically to protect you when you're at your most vulnerable. So I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. The next time you find yourself stranded on the shoulder of the highway, just watching those flashing amber lights pull up, who is really in the driver's seat? Your own choices, a digital algorithm, or the law? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there on the roads and keep learning.